you ever taken an English class and your teacher or your professor asked you about the theme of the book that you were reading? Did your mind just go blank? Many people find theme to be a kind of difficult concept to understand. You might be able to describe really easily the plot, the characters, and the setting, but when it comes to theme, it's a little bit more abstract and difficult to identify. One thing to be aware of is that the theme is not the moral of the story. The moral is usually a statement about what the author wants the reader to learn. Most stories do have a theme. In fact, I would venture to say that all stories have a theme, or more than one, but not all have a moral. However, the theme can be related to the moral. For instance, in The Boy Who Cried Wolf, the moral is that you should tell the truth if you want people to believe you, because nobody trusts a liar. The theme, on the other hand, would be more abstract concepts like honesty and dishonesty or trust. Generally, the theme will be either a single word or a short phrase, and often it'll be an abstract noun. So if you think about abstract versus concrete nouns are physical items, things that you can touch, that you can see. Like, for instance, in a book, some things that might appear in the book would be dragons or spaceships or detectives, types of people, places, and things. Abstract nouns are ideas, things like freedom or justice or friendship or loyalty or grief. There's no way to actually see those things or touch them or hear them or anything, but they're ideas that can be very important, and often something like that will be at the core of what a particular story is about. Because that's basically what theme boils down to. What is this story about? If you take away the plot, the characters, the setting, any flashy distractions like dragons or spaceships, what core idea is the story about? I've been saying identifying the theme in this video so far, but actually I want to make sure you understand there won't necessarily be just one theme. Most books have more than one. For instance, a book might be about friendship and loyalty and courage. The themes can often interact with each other in a really interesting way so that books with similar themes aren't necessarily similar stories. So for instance, I've got two books right here. Romeo and Juliet by Shakespeare and Persuasion by Jane Austen. Now, Romeo and Juliet and Persuasion are both books about romance, and I would say that romantic love is an important theme in both books. However, Romeo and Juliet is also about feuding families that absolutely hate each other for no reason, and their hatred for each other driving the young lovers apart. Whereas Persuasion is about two people who miss their chance to be together, who then encounter each other again after many years. So I would say that Romeo and Juliet, the themes would be romantic love and irrational hatred. Whereas in Persuasion, the themes would be romantic love and second chances. And there might be more in addition to those, but those are some important ones. So that's one reason why two stories about romantic love would look so different, because they're dealing with other themes in addition to romantic love. They also, of course, have very different settings and characters and so on. So let's take a look at a few other books that you might have heard of and talk about what their themes are. Right here I've got Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. Obviously, courage is a significant theme in the Harry Potter books, Harry being a Gryffindor and their sort of defining trait being courage. Self-sacrifice is also a huge theme in the Harry Potter books, both with Harry's mother's sacrifice to save him when he was a baby and then various things that happen later on in the series. But then the books also deal with ideas relating to friendship. For example, the friendship between the three main characters. Another important theme in the Harry Potter series is choosing between the right thing and the easy thing. At the end of Goblet of Fire, after Voldemort's return, Dumbledore says this: "Remember, Cedric, remember, if the time should come when you have to make a choice between what is right and what is easy, remember what happened to a boy who was good and kind and brave because he strayed across the path of Lord Voldemort. Remember Cedric Diggory." While it may seem like a small thing, that phrase, what is right and what is easy, really kind of encapsulates the choices that many characters have to make over the course of the series. So when I said that a theme is usually a single word or a short phrase, that doesn't necessarily mean that it has to be just one word. All right, next up, The Lord of the Rings. The Lord of the Rings, once again, has many different themes that it deals with. For instance, with the idea of the One Ring being a great corrupting force, there's a theme that deals with temptation and withstanding temptation. Now, the moral that you might get from that is that you shouldn't be controlled by power or greed or the things that tempt you, but the theme would just be temptation. It's also about courage. The characters all have to be very brave in order to deal with what they're dealing with. It deals with concepts like loyalty, like death. So again, a very complex story that involves a good number of themes. The Hunger Games has, again, a lot going on, but one of the themes that stands out to me in the Hunger Games is loyalty, particularly loyalty to family members and self-sacrifice, being willing to sacrifice yourself in order to save someone else. Like, for instance, Katniss volunteering for the Hunger Games to take the place of her younger sister, and then in the end of the first book, Katniss and Peeta being willing to eat poison berries rather than kill each other. The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe by C.S. Lewis. The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, I think, deals in large part with the idea of redemption and second chances. However, in a very different way from, for example, Persuasion, where it was romantic second chances. In The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, it's Edmund having a second chance after he betrays his siblings. It also, again, one of the common themes in a lot of these books that I'm looking at is courage, bravery. I would say that family is also a strong theme in the Chronicles of Narnia, and particularly The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, because of course it deals with the story of 4 siblings. And then if you're familiar with the idea of the Chronicles of Narnia as a Christian allegory, it also deals significantly with religious themes. And then finally, Les Miserables by Victor Hugo. And I just had to include this one. I know I included it in the foil characters video as well, and you're probably sick of hearing me talk about it. But Les Miserables is a book that deals with just so much in the way of theme. It's about basically everything that I've talked about so far. There's romantic love, there's redemption and second chances, there's the idea of justice versus mercy, there's people sacrificing themselves for what they believe is right. There's just so much in Les Miserables as far as theme, and I think that's one of the reasons that it's, at least in my opinion, such a good story, in spite of being, such an enormous book with large amounts of it being digressions about the sewers or the Battle of Waterloo. So basically all stories have themes, at least one, but usually more than one. They're usually abstract nouns, concepts or ideas that are at the core of what the story is all about. And while the plot, the characters, the setting, and so on help to shape what the story is like, the theme is what gives it substance. That's the key thing about the theme. It's what's it about when you strip away all of the rest of the stuff and just look at the substance, the core idea. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you liked this and you'd like to see more like it, feel free to subscribe to my channel. I post new videos twice a week on Mondays and Thursdays, and I talk about reading, writing, classic literature, literary concepts, college tips, study tips, and much more.